Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham, and on today's show, the bulk of our focus will be on a potential Jaylen Brown trade. We also have an interesting draft nugget later in the show, so stay tuned for that. But want to explore the idea of trading for Jaylen Brown today because the Celtics could look to shake things up this offseason. Now, his partner in crime, Jason Tatum, has endorsed him for signing a contract extension. He has 1 year left on his deal, but I do wonder if Boston looks to shake things up and if maybe a team like the Mavs could show some interest in the Celtics' number 2 star. Now, he certainly had an interesting year, right? You could argue his regular season was the best of his career. 26.6 points per game, shot almost 50% from the field, 7 boards. Three-point shot was a little down this year, but all in all, had a really good season, especially offensively this year. I thought his defense dipped a bit this season, but his offensive plate has only grown year by year. Now, the problem is his playoff numbers kind of dipped, down almost 4 points at just around 23. His rebounding was a little bit down as well. The assists were about the same. Field goal percentage was actually a tick up, as was the three-point shot, but a lot of turnovers, untimely turnovers as well. And really what stood out is this last series against the Miami Heat. He had a really good Game 6 to help force a Game 7, so kudos for that. But he really struggled versus the Heat. I think he shot 17% from three-point range. That's really poor. And in Game 7, when Jason Tatum tweaks his ankle on the first play of the game, they tried to lean on Jaylen Brown, and he did not deliver. He did not play. He even owned it after the game. He said, "Look, they looked at me when Tatum got hurt, and I didn't handle it." So that was disappointing to see. Now, great player. I still like him a lot, and would still be interested in him. But I do think those details matter. Should the Mavs trade for Jaylen Brown? Want you guys to interact first before I give more thoughts. Type T for trade, or you can type P for pass. Let me know in the comment section below. T for trade or P for pass when it comes to Jaylen Brown. Like I said, I still like Jaylen Brown a lot, and I think he is a good fit. Now, he's got to get back to playing better defense. This is a guy who's considered one of the best two-way players in the NBA. He didn't really do that this year. The defense was not nearly as good as it's been in recent seasons. I think that was especially notable in the postseason. Now, Jaylen Brown is eligible for a monster contract extension due to being an All-NBA player. He can sign a 5-year, $295 million extension this offseason, if the Celtics offer it, of course. I mean, they very well may not. That's almost $60 million a year over the next 5 years for a guy who, in the Eastern Conference Finals shrunk a bit. I mean, there's just no way around it. Now, I don't look at one playoff series to determine how I feel about a player, but if you're going to give a guy $300 million, I think you got to look at everything. Now, when it comes to the Mavs and a potential pursuit for Jaylen Brown, these are kind of the assets they've got. Maxi Kleber's got a very movable contract. He's a piece that can contribute to a winning organization like the Celtics. Reggie Bullock, plug-and-play 3-and-D player. Jaden Hardy, creative offensive guard that I think has his stock pointing up. Tim Hardaway Jr., I thought second half of this past year, he kind of got back to being closer to himself, shot the ball with more consistency. He can kind of fit in anywhere with this shooting ability. Josh Green, he had his best year of his career. I think he's got some value. And 2 first-round picks, including the number 10 overall pick this year. So you've got some ammo. And I do wonder, could Jaylen Brown's stock just be a tick down, especially considering how big that supermax would have to be for a team to give it to him? So here's my trade idea that I've kind of cooked up, I threw out there. I'm not sure it's quite enough, but I think it's close to the best package the Mavericks could offer. Jaylen Brown comes to Dallas. The Celtics receive Josh Green and Jaden Hardy, Reggie Bullock and Davis Bertans. You could flip Bertans for Hardaway. The reason I went Bertans is he's got 1 year left on his deal, plus a mostly non-guaranteed year the year after that. Hardaway still got 2 years left and more money on his deal, so I figured more flexibility for Boston moving forward. But if they want Hardaway, they can take him instead. And then number 10 pick this year and 2027 first-round pick. So 2 first, Josh Green, who went in the first round and played like a guy who could maybe fetch a first-round pick this past year. Reggie Bullock, who's a good role player, and Jaden Hardy, who has potential as well, plus Davis Bertans as that salary filler with those picks. Who wins the trade? I think it's a decent offer. I don't know if it's quite enough, but I think you're in the ballpark here. if you are Dallas. Type DAL for the Mavericks. Type BOS for the Boston Celtics. Let me know in the comment section down below who you guys think would win this trade. Now, BetUS sponsoring today's show. The NBA Finals are upon us, and BetUS is the place to go bet on the NBA Finals. Go to chatsports.com/MFFL. Promo code MFFL. Miami Heat, big underdogs. That's where the value lays in this series, but it's a big hill to climb. I'm rolling with the Nuggets in 5 games. If you want to go bet on who's going to win this series, who's going to go win game 1 on Thursday night, go to chatsports.com/MFFL and use promo code MFFL to get started today. No Dick in Dallas. That's Gradey Dick that we're talking about, of course. Pause. Bonk, like Tom Downey, a disciple, would say here at Chat Sports. And a report coming from The Athletic is that the Mavs are not considering Gradey Dick with the number 10 pick. Here's what Tim Cato of The Athletic had to say. He says, Gradey Dick isn't likely to be considered by Dallas. Team and league sources tell The Athletic, all of whom were granted anonymity since they were not authorized to speak publicly about prospects. Of course they were. The team's new front office is focused on athleticism and physicality much more than the old guard, which might have favored a skilled shooter but an unremarkable athlete like Gradey Dick. Now, a couple things to consider. One, when you've got anonymous sources, I always take that with a grain of salt. Two, just like the NFL draft, this is smokescreen season for the NBA. Remember years ago that the Dennis Smith, Frank Ntilikina draft that, they want Ntilikina. He's their guy. And look, I do think if Dennis Smith was gone, they would have taken Ntilikina, but they obviously took Dennis Smith. So, it's that time of year where take everything you hear in terms of they're interested in this guy, they're not interested in that guy. Like, it's all with a grain of salt. Could be true, could be not. I personally like Gradey Dick. He's someone I would consider for the Mavericks with the number 10 pick because he is a plug-and-play offensive scorer. I think he can play in an NBA rotation as a rookie. Now, is he a guy that can get reliable minutes in the playoffs in year 1? I'm not sure. Like, you look at his former Kansas forward, Christian Brown, was kind of in and out of the Nuggets rotation this year. Has played some in the playoffs, but not a ton. I could see Gradey Dick having that type of year, maybe even playing a little bit more if he develops just a little bit further. We'll have to wait and see. I definitely think, year 2 and beyond, he can be a staple in a rotation. Now, Cato mentioned the following 6 players for guys who should be under consideration at number 10. The guys on the left side of your screen are guys that he called no-brainer picks if they're available. Taylor Hendricks, who we've talked about a lot. Defensive versatility, can score the basketball, the forward out of UCF. Anthony Black out of Arkansas, really good defensive player with some developmental skills offensively. Cam Whitmore, two-way guy as well. He also mentioned Jarris Walker, who's kind of been moving up draft boards, the kind of small ball center out of Houston. Kobe Buffkin out of Michigan as well. And then Leonard Miller, who played with the G League Ignite alongside Scoot Henderson. I would still consider Gradey Dick at number 10, depending on who's available. Now, I've kind of talked myself into the Taylor Hendricks train. If he's there at 10, he's probably the guy that I would take, and I probably would take Anthony Black over Gradey Dick as well. But outside of those two guys, maybe Cam Whitmore. Like, if they're all gone, I'm perfectly content with taking Gradey Dick at number 10 overall. He's not my top option, but I don't think he's like a bad option. I think he could go anywhere in this draft from like 8 to 14. Like, I do think he'll be a lottery pick, so taking him at number 10 I think would be perfectly fine. If the Mavs keep the number 10 selection, they could trade it, of course. Who should they draft? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. We'll see you soon here on Mavericks Today.